All right, so this is going to be my thoughts on the finale of season one of Iron Fist. I did a video on the first episode, which I thought was ultimately all right, but yeah, this season was not good, and this episode is not good either. Very anticlimactic, but I went into this wanting to be at least charitable because there were things that worked better for me this time around than it did originally. But yeah, no, this is still a pretty bad show. So they've dealt with Bakudo. Danny had his little thing with Davos where they got into it, and now Davos went away. Uh, so now, at the end of last episode, the DEA busted in going after Danny because Harold is kind of back in charge of Rand. He's back out there out of hiding, and he has moved around some documents or something to frame him for the drug smuggling that was going on in Rand and embezzling money. Nobody would believe this. I guess that has to be some really convincing documents because he hasn't even been back at Rand for that long. I mean, he went from being homeless. He used to be from a monastery to being a billionaire, and then he just immediately started smuggling drugs and embezzling money. That doesn't make any sense to anybody. But regardless, so now they're on the run, and they need to find those documents, a copy of those documents to prove that his innocence. They've gone to Hogarth again, which I really like Hogarth, so it's all right, even though she feels a little bit tacked on. She was there earlier on when he was still proving that he was Danny Rand for multiple episodes, and so they have to find those documents, and they go to Madame Gal because maybe she might have them because of her dealings with Rand, and really all it's there for is so that she can reveal that Harold was the one that actually killed Danny Rand's parents. My question would be, why did she get interrogated for a whole episode then? Uh, your life was in danger multiple times. I know she likes to play mind games. She's one of the best parts of the show easily. I really like her. But, your life was in danger. You were being interrogated, all these different things, because Danny believed you'd killed his parents. Why not reveal that you didn't do it then? And it was Harold back then. That would be probably advantageous for her since she knew Harold was doing other shit. But
If what you're saying is true, then why haven't I killed you already?
Because you know I didn't kill your parents. Why would I have gone to such trouble to hide it with a plane crash?
there's more of an emotional thing going on between Danny and Harold to where he really, really wants to get revenge now. They play around with that a lot in the show. They did it with Madame Gao, now they're doing it with Harold. And they did it with Bakudo, too. Colleen is like, oh, man, I'm glad I wasn't the one who killed Bakudo. It's like, well, you would have been the one to kill Bakudo, though. And his body is gone, so more than likely he's coming back to life, which he does in Defenders. Claire Temple, Rosario Dawson, she's been in the show. She feels completely unnecessary to really be in there. I don't know if it's in her contract. She has to be in all these shows, but she's there to kind of tell them not to kill people over and over and over again. A lot of their problems would probably be solved by killing people because you can't really imprison the people that they're going after. A lot of them are immortal or whatever's going on, so it doesn't really make sense. But Daredevil kind of dealt with that aspect of it too, with the hand. So Joy is still in the hospital from being shot, but she really doesn't want to talk to Ward because of the whole trying to get Harold killed because he's insane. But she's starting to catch on to it because she realizes that uh, Danny's being set up by him. So Danny has to get to the building. So now he has to go there. Is there some exciting thing that he has to do to get to Harold? No, he takes out a few people. There's very little martial arts in the finale of a martial arts show because they're just taking on people with guns, and the final villain is a guy. It's like a rich businessman, but whatever. He gets up there. He can use his fist a bunch now, even though they've had that plot device going for a while where he can't use his fist. But no, he can use it now because this show is poorly written and inconsistent. He uses his fist. He takes out a lot of the guys. Then it's just him and Harold on the roof, and Harold is monologuing like crazy. Then they fight, and Danny's kind of having some issues fighting him, but eventually he kicks him into a pole, and he's having these little freak out moments, visions or whatever, of his mother dying and all this other stuff that he's been doing throughout the show that's never been good. Finn Jones is just not good, right? I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt because the writing is so bad, and at least in that first episode, in my last video, he was he was bad, but he wasn't that bad. He gets pretty bad, right? And he's not good here whenever he has to like really be emotional and things like that. So he blocks a bullet with his iron fist from Harold. Harold gets shot by Ward, and nobody asks any questions. Cops don't want to find out what's going on. There's plenty of people who saw Harold was back to life, and now he's fallen from a fucking giant building, but that's fine. They're just gonna cremate him. Also, they cause quite a scene when he's punches the floor and everybody goes flying, which was actually pretty cool. Probably the coolest thing they do with the fist. So there you go. But nobody, no questions asked. Hogarth clears Danny's name, and then we move on. Davos is plotting with Joy. That's going to be in the second season, I guess, which I haven't actually seen. Why would Joy be plotting with Davos? I know things have gone kind of awry since Danny's been around, but a lot of that was already happening behind the scenes anyway, with Harold and the Hand and all that. Smuggling drugs through Rand. That was already going on, so I don't know. She had a falling out with her father over setting up Danny, but now she's like, you know what? Yep, let's kill Danny. And Madame Gal's there too. Of course, she's pulling strings. Kunlun, Danny and Colleen decide to go there, and it's gone because it got attacked because the protector of Kunlun was not there. Danny ran, so that's it. That's the finale episode. They probably had enough content for like real content that really needed to be in there. Could have been like a 30-minute episode, probably. I mean, not a lot happens in this episode at all. It's not a very good finale at all. So let's talk about the overall season. I guess we can start off with what I actually liked. The acting, for the most part, is pretty good, other than two people, Bakudo, and so whoever that guy is that plays Bakudo, when he has to talk like this with every line of "You are the Iron Fist, aren't you?" So Bakudo, and then also obviously Finn Jones, Danny Rand. He is not good, but the dialogue doesn't do him any favors. A lot of this dialogue is super cheese.
I'm the Iron Fist.
The hell does that mean?
It means I never lose.
I like Colleen. I actually liked Ward and everything that was going on with him. I actually found the whole thing with Harold and the Hand and all that. I actually thought that was kind of interesting, to be honest. That is all that I have for positives, though. The season is messy. It has all these storylines just kind of shoved in together. They have the whole corruption going on with Rand, but then they also have everything going on outside of it. Some of it's interesting. Most of it is not, and not very well written. The whole storyline with Danny having to prove himself is ridiculous. People go missing all the time. There are ways to identify people, but we need to spend multiple episodes on that. The storyline with Colleen really being with the Hand, which is essentially a cult, and Danny taking them on, I think that was maybe 2 episodes, like right at the end. Maybe 2 episodes. I think Danny proving himself and finally becoming Danny Rand and being at the at Rand Industries or whatever it is. That takes like what, 4 episodes? By the end of the second episode, he's just knocking down the psych ward door to get out of the psych ward. It's like, man, I mean, it has to deal with like M&Ms and like a little pot that had his fingerprint on it. I mean, it's too much. Hogarth gets involved. It's just ridiculous. That is so prolonged. I don't get it.
I don't understand.
Isn't it obvious? I'm not your sister. He's not your brother. We don't want you here.
Not only that, but like it goes from that to like the tournament, which like you're thinking this is a martial arts show. You're gonna see a tournament. That's awesome, right? It's not, like, because the fights are over almost immediately. He gets poisoned at one point, but then he goes to the next fight and is perfectly fine. It's just, I'm not invested in most of it. And then you get to the actual martial arts, and they're not that impressive because most of the time Finn Jones looks like he's just moving his hands around. It's not even just him. It's also Colleen, who's better, but the martial arts just isn't that good. You can tell because there's all these cuts everywhere, and it's just, it always leaves more to be desired. Like, even if there is something kind of cool with this fist or something like that, you always almost you're almost begging for more. I was wondering, I was like, okay, these cage fights are kind of cool. You got to suspend a little bit of disbelief because she's taking on like giant guys and she's very, very little. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, Danny has nothing to do with this. So why are we spending so much time on it? Like, this is the main character. So much of the show focuses on things that have nothing to do with him. When Joy and Ward get ousted, he does too. But he's not involved in any way of them trying to blackmail themselves back in or anything like that. He's not involved in that. So why is that given so much time? And it just, the storylines that are actually interesting don't get enough time, but the storylines that aren't really get a lot. Like they go to China, which China, because it doesn't feel like they're actually in another country at all. It feels like they're just at another dock somewhere because they didn't actually shoot it in another country, so they didn't make it believable at all that they were actually in China in any way. Well, should I kill Gao? Should I kill Bakudo? Should I kill this person? It was getting annoying, man. You're interrogating, what are you going to do with Madame Gao? Like, at some point, they would have to do something with her, but they're just going to interrogate her at a dojo for whoever knows how long. It starts to get really boring because you're not really invested in much of what's going on, you know? I mean, at least kill it with the martial arts, but they didn't, though. So it's like, I'm just kind of sitting here. Like, there's certain characters and certain storylines that I like, but they're ultimately still done pretty poorly, you know? The whole thing with him and Davos, that could have been really interesting, right? But no, you know, the whole thing with him being from Kunlun, right? Showing flashbacks of him in Kunlun. And you really don't get to see, you don't get to see the dragon that he had to punch to get his powers. You don't get to see, you know, anything. You don't get to really see the monks that much. Most of what you see is him getting beaten as a child, and that's his training. I mean, it would have been cool to get like a full episode of just him being in Kunlun and training and getting better. One of the biggest things I didn't like about this show is not only, I mean, the martial arts isn't very good. He looks like he's flailing around. He looks ridiculous. He looks goofy. He feels overpowered. He really does. It doesn't help that the martial arts isn't that great, but he wins almost every fight with very little effort. Like the most he gets, like at least Colleen gets poisoned at one point. The most he gets is he gets a little couple cuts. Like he fights a bunch of people at the hand school or whatever, and doesn't really get much from that. I mean, whether he's using the fist or not, like they're like, oh, I can't use the fist. Whether he's using the fist or not, he takes on everybody with very little effort. When he fights the drunk fist guy, which I'm pretty sure that's the guy from the Mortal Kombat movie that just came out this year. But when he fights that guy, you know, you expect, I mean, he's using the drunk fist or whatever. You expect it to be kind of cool, but it's not. As usual, they're just kind of moving their arms around and he's flailing around. He just happens to be hitting them and knocking them down and things. I mean, he barely has to try. I mean, he's invincible in this. I think that they didn't really properly plan this out. It feels like with Rosario Dawson being involved, Hogarth and all that, it feels like they just want to hurry up and get this done, whatever storylines they can throw together, whatever, so that they could hurry up and get to Defenders. Anyway, yeah, that's the finale / my overall thoughts on Iron Fist Season 1. It is so hard to get through. It is an endurance test after a certain point. After like episode 7, I was like, okay, let's hurry up and get this over with. Like I am not invested in this at all anymore. So yeah, that's it. I'm done. Like, subscribe, all that other stuff, and that's it.